But knowing where you are, it allows you to be able to get the information on the ground at your pace or at your level, and then you step up. You can't just be someone who they've never heard of and you shooting your shot. You can shoot your shot, but chances are high that you might not get in. So always know how to navigate. So the information, knowing what this person does is important.
From Corner Jude and Debia, Imenu Msindis Wesi, Umvelisen Melis Wesijwe, formerly known as Wazima Donzel, bringing you a show about creative entrepreneurs live from the landmark that not only birth SA street culture, but also formalize the street hustle.
Corner Jude and Debia, very, very special edition. We've been talking about this, I think, since the podcast started. Heard about you on a podcast. It's Ally Fathana, Mari Meja, a publicist to a certain extent, a marketer, creative, photographer, graphic designer, business owner, MD, at the pulse of culture, but most importantly at the pulse of brands, and trying to accelerate brand messages through youth culture. How you doing?
All good, my brother. How are you?
Blessed and highly favored. I've been waiting for this one. I sat down. Even when I texted you, I was like,
it took forever.
You know what's crazy about it, right? So I always have something in mind.
Okay.
And then I'll write down a long list.
Yeah.
And then the gods of partnerships then come in. And then we're like, okay, cool, let's put that on ice when we're independent again. We'll give the people what they signed up for, what they subscribe for. So if you made it this far, just comment.
Dope.
Just comment.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. But most importantly, you've been in the game 15 years.
Yes, more than 15 years. So I think now is 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah.
Or if you don't know, one of the founders of zkhiphani.
Yes.
SA Creatives.
So co-founder of zkhiphani, SA Creatives. I'm the co-owner. So it was owned by someone else, then it was brought over to us. Fresh AF, which is an agency, I'm the co-founder there as well. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. And co-owner of We Are 7 as well. Yeah.
The greatest post-production. Like I'm always like, hey, Wells, wash, do something.
Shout out to the gents, man.
Yeah. I think I want to start this podcast with the simplest thing. A business is not a democracy. It's a dictatorship.
Yeah.
This is one quotable I heard.
Yeah.
From you the first time I heard about you.
Cool. So what I meant there, and I'm not saying dictatorship from an ED perspective. ED, I mean, like it's a thing of, it's obviously collaborative. It depends whether you've got partners or not. I think starting out, back in the day, this is 2007, 2008 when we started. So it was a gentleman's agreement. There is no contract in place. We just have the CPRO, what was then CPRO, now is CIPC.
Yeah.
So we started hustling from the days of Umsobomvu. I don't know if a lot of young people know that. So Umsobomvu is basically now the NYDA, right? So starting out then, it was just a matter of going to CIPC, registering a company, and that's it. So we co-owners of the business, directors of the business, but there is no directors, shareholders agreement, there's no sales of shares, there isn't any documents that say that you are in this contractual binding together. So because you start out at the same time, you all see yourselves as equals, and of which you are. But I started out as a graphic designer. I'm a graphic designer by qualification. So I had Bonga, who was also a graphic designer at the time. We owned a branding agency. So both qualified, graphic designers, but there is no financial person in place. There is no CEO in place. There is no, we're all creative. So what I meant by that business is not a democracy is that we can make same decisions or vote on something that is meant to be one person steering the ship. So meaning that there needs to be someone that is directing the company to a certain point, like a visionary to carry the vision through, whereas the other people will come in and support on that. Yeah.
You come together as partners. What happens the day that you start seeing the financial returns of it?
The financial returns, what do you mean? Like
when you guys are finally profitable?
To be honest, we haven't been profitable like for the longest time, us being together. So we lived together like since 2008, living together, myself and Bonga, before we started zkhiphani. So at the time, it was hand to mouth. So you're unable to even have your financials in order until, you know, like the older you grow, now that you know that, okay, cool, I'm no longer just a graphic designer. So I had to leave graphic design completely and focus more on the business aspect of things. So then you start seeing the income coming in. So now you stop living from hand to mouth. Now you start seeing. So I think I would say maybe from 2014, that's when we said, okay, cool, now we are breaking even and we're making a little bit of profit. So that's from 2014.
How did you figure it out? Because there's a lot of young kids or communities right now. They're building their platforms. We've seen the growth of a creative corner, which has transitioned more towards music.
Yeah.
And now there's a culture collector, there's a freshman, there's this, there's that.
Yeah.
How do you take a publication
Yeah.
and turn it into a profitable business?
So the unfortunate thing, right, and maybe this is going to be a controversial statement, there isn't good margins within a publication, right? So you need to morph into some form of an agency. Even if maybe it's an agency, you create solutions for brands that want to advertise on your platform. As opposed to you selling ad space, you need to look at it maybe holistically within what it is that you offer, right? So for us, example, I mean, I've interacted with a lot of media agencies. Media agencies is where the spend comes from.
Sure.
When they spend on your platform. So digital platforms, those ads that you see, the budget comes from a media agency. So there's major media agencies, your Group 5s, your OMDs, your Densu, you know, like we've been everywhere with them, you know. And the beauty is that they all move. Media strategists move from different agency to the other. So we used to go there, cold, without knowing what it is that they're creating or what they're busy with to present our platforms. So our platforms, we figured out that there's Times Live, something like Times Live, where they're getting a lot of eyeballs on their website. So we didn't want to compete with those because we knew that we're a niche platform. So what we offered was video content series, you know, like video solutions, you know, covering of events and all of that. So we created a rate card that speaks to that, right? And not something that would leave us in the trap of banners on the website. So what that does is that it takes a lot of revenue away from you because they have these programmatic platforms that want to get as many eyeballs as possible. So now we created bespoke campaigns that speaks to our platform alone. So in a way that you can't necessarily take it and put it on Times Live because it's centered around the kind of content that we create. Yeah, so that's how you start making revenue from a publication front. But it's difficult to see that if you are focusing only on certain things that you offer within that publication, which is in most cases is banners. I mean, the kids today, they don't even have a website, as an example. They only rely on their social media platforms. So I would advise them to create a platform, because once Mark Zuckerberg decides tomorrow to shut it down, what happens to you? Do you have a business? Do you know what I mean? So it's important for young people to have platforms that they own, and whether in the form of a website, in the form of a podcast, but make sure that it lives somewhere else on a website. Maybe the engine might be YouTube, but make sure that you have an audience that is interacting with a website or your website. Yeah.
And then you can now tell client, this is what we offer, this is the audience we have, this ideation we have around you. How do we get to a point where we can say to client, what is the mission for the next 3 months? Give us your objectives. How can one, from a media standpoint, be able to approach in that way?
So I'll tell you what we did, right? Or what we are doing, right? So we realized that going into a boardroom with a template approach, by template I mean having existing presentations that speaks to maybe a bank, that speaks to a vehicle brand, The problem with that, like that approach, cell phone brand, the problem with that is that when you go to them, you might find that they've got different brand objectives, right? That they want to focus on for the rest of the year or that period or that quarter or whatever. And those templates that you've created 2 years ago, a month ago, does not speak to that brand. Do you know what I mean? So what I would encourage people to do is go to that, or what we've been doing is that we go to a CMO or maybe a media strategist. We sit down with them, we're like, this is the platform, tell us about the brand that you look after, what are your objectives, what are you busy with, and then we take that as a brief. We always come out with briefs in those kind of sessions, so we call them chemistry sessions. So from that chemistry sessions, they'll give us a brief because now they've got a brief understanding of the platform. They'll give us the brief, we come back with an idea that is centered around that brief. So as opposed to going in hard cold, you don't even know what the direction is for that brand. So it's always important to look at how you take the information that you've received from that brand practitioner and apply it into your proposal. Then it speaks to those touch points, yeah.
And then now everyone keeps saying, yo, get a LinkedIn, connect with these people you want to talk to. What is the approach when I've already connected? Because now if I shoot your DM, even right now, it's like, yo, I offer the service, can I be part of Fresh AF, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
What approach are we supposed to be looking at as young entrepreneurs, young creatives who are using these platforms?
So a lot of it is information. A lot of it is information. You might find that I'm from Fresh AF, but I might not be able to assist you, but someone from Fresh AF is able to assist you, or someone from a certain brand is able to assist you. You know, sometimes you can get far by speaking to a brand assistant manager, assistant manager, as opposed to the CMO direct. For you to get through to a CMO, you have to speak to an executive assistant that speaks to them and check their diary and all of that. Those people run their diaries. So if I can now decide to, just because we follow each other on Instagram or LinkedIn or wherever, I just decide to DM the CMO of NetBank, example. Yo, man, chances of me getting a reply there are slim than me going for an assistant manager, brand assistant manager. Then it's easier. You know, they might get me in that meeting. If I impress them, then it's knowing where you are. It allows you to be able to get the information on the ground at your pace or at your level, and then you step up. You can't just be someone who they've never heard of and you're shooting your shot. You can shoot your shot, but chances are high that you might not get in. So always know how to navigate. So the information, knowing what this person does is important. Yeah.
And then now we've gotten to an era where the kids are their own graphic designers, own videographer, own editor, own copywriter.
Yeah.
Right? How can we go about monetizing our passion points? Because we're finding a lot of young creatives. Here's the community, it's 100K people, they commenting, they liking the stuff, they subscribe to the YouTube.
Yeah.
How do you monetize your actual passion points?
Partner with people who are smarter than you. That's one, right? And by that I mean by the mere fact that I've got a platform. So maybe starting out, I'm like, okay, cool, this is culture, love culture, maybe, or maybe a subculture. Let's look at my piano. I love my piano. All I want to do is document my piano. Then I put it out there. There'll be subscribers that come onto the platform. Now I've got 200,000 followers, but there's no money, right? So how do you monetize that? You reach out to people that have access to these brand managers, right? Or people that know how to put a proposal together. Because what I've seen as a struggle is that a lot of people that own platforms or that have a big following don't necessarily know how to put together a proposal or they don't know what to put in the proposal, right? So in most cases, platforms, we tend to wait, and this is why I mentioned earlier that we had to go to media agencies. But before knowing that media agencies actually sit with the budget, we used to go to PR agencies or wait for PR agencies to reach out to us. which we found out like years after operating, which was painful, you know. So like that's why I said it's all about information. So knowing how to put a proposal together is very, very important, because we a lot of time they tend to do a waiting game, just like influencers. You wait for a main agency to put together a proposal or an idea, a campaign, where it's going to be pitched to the brand, right? So from the brand, they will look at it, they'll say, okay, cool, here's a media agency. Already the money, say maybe the budget starts here, maybe it's 10 M's, call it 10 M's. The main agency, creative agency, will put together a plan and say, this is the campaign. Then it gets smaller when it goes to PR agencies. Then the PR agencies still want to make their money, then it gets shorter as well, or smaller, the budgets get smaller. Now they look for an influencer, or they look for a platform to help amplify that campaign. So, but if you go to media agencies, at least you might stand a chance to, you know, get the money while it's still, you know, good.
How do we motivate for good money? Because now we're finding that, yo, I have the good idea, but when I pitch it, they're like, it's out of budget, bro.
Find someone who's in the industry of like a strategist or a creative director that can put together a presentation. So you'd have to go direct to client. So going direct to client is that they're able to see your vision and buy into it in its entirety, as opposed to you pitching to someone who also has to pitch to someone first before they can get the attention of the brand lead. Yeah.
That's a very interesting approach. And then when you started your career as an intern, right? You moved from intern, you start your own thing with your friend, and then from that, you play every role under the sun. You've been a photographer, you've been a stylist, you've been everything to get it done. You've even said zkhiphani.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
What kept you growing all along? Because at some stage for most people, they'd be like, no, you know what, it's fine. Let me just get a job and relax.
So what are the reasons why I went into business, or me being an entrepreneur? So at an early age, I think it's a common story for a lot of people. I used to sell sweets in high school, you know, so I've always been like businessman at heart, you know, an entrepreneur, always cared about people. So my first internship was with a company called Superior Choices. It was an advertising agency, marketing agency based in Brooklyn, Pretoria. So went there, first day, they gave me work for like a week. I completed the work like in 4 hours. And I was like, cool. I know I've got speed, so I've always prioritized speed more than anything. So cool. Then they saw that, okay, I've got potential. But in my head, my time there, I was like, damn, man, I can I can do this for myself, you know, like, and because I'll sit here and do work for like 15 people, example, you know, like, or maybe 15 days of work takes me 2 days. And I figured, you know what, let me do it by myself. That's when I had a conversation with Bonga. Bonga Mpungo was who we merged and continued with the company, the branding agency, and we continued, So, but what kept me going is that I saw the potential of this thing, and I saw how big we can get and how many creators we can assist in the process, you know, and train them with speed as well, you know,
And then you figure out the business of it, right? Because of your experience and the time you spent within it. How does one actually calculate ad spend? Because when these brands come to these young creatives, they're like, yo, we have 15K for 2-story posts, hypothetically, right? How have they measured that this thing is worth 15K? I know they've added their price on top, but how does one actually measure?
The truth is they haven't. They look at the previous campaigns that they've ran, and they will always try to pin you down, you know, and bring you down as much as they can. You know, they bargaining. So like the thing is, you have to reply and say those 2 stories, instead of videos, me shooting and me getting people, let it be stills. You know, push back if you can, and always be strategic. Check what the bag is, who it is coming from, if it's brand direct, or if it might link you to the next stage. You can take the job, you know, but just be conscious when you're taking it. don't take it without a plan, basically. Yeah.
You enter into the agency world fully fledged now, it's fresh AF.
Yeah.
How are you dealing with clients now as opposed to when you were still with the gang?
Clients are different now. I think we're more professional now. I've always been, clean image. I've made sacrifices like throughout, to be where I am. So even those sacrifices, I can see them paying off now. So the clean image, no drama. So you're able to look after the brands easily. So you've got focus. So your team can mirror that as well. So we take good care of our clients, and some of them are our peers, some of them are older, obviously, but we've got one common goal, which is making the brand resonate with people. Not youth necessarily, but
People in
outside
general,
of people in general. Yeah.
And how have you dealt with partnerships? Because a lot of us, we struggle with that things like, because when we start, we say, you're doing this, I'm doing this. The effort was the same. 2 months down the line, I feel like I'm picking up your slack. 3 months, 6 months after that, I'm like, why am I doing all the work? How does one navigate partnerships and still keep in good terms?
Yeah, that's a hard thing to deal with. So just to track back, so like I said, in 2008, I got into a partnership with Bonga Mpungose. Then 2009, Andile came in and joined us. That's when we started zkhiphani, right? So right now, Andile is no longer with the business from 2020. So Bonga is no longer with the business as well now as of last year, March, It's a difficult thing to manage. It's like now, funny enough, we talk about this thing, like with the EFF, Juju and Floyd, they started this thing together, and it's heartbreaking when you wake up one morning, the person is no longer with the business, but it's individual choices, and there'll obviously be that thing of, you're not carrying the weight, I'm carrying the weight, this and that, and the best way to avoid that is to build systems, right? So when you build systems allow you to be able to track the process or the progress of each individual, and obviously getting into your position and honoring that position, right? And going back to what I mentioned earlier about, about dictatorship and versus democracy and all of that. So it's very important, right? So you have one person that's steering the ship, but you have to make sure that that person cannot treat this one the same as the other one. So leadership is that, right? So you need to be able to treat people differently as they come with their baggages, whether it's baggages or whether it's vibes or energy, you need to be accommodating of that. So you can't treat those equally. So that's how you deal with that. So because we come with egos, we come with different things. I can wake up today and not feel grand. How do I approach that? We live in the same house, or maybe we share the same office, So it's important for you to prioritize the business and make sure that the business comes first. Everything else that is personal comes after. So when you're looking at the numbers, or when you're looking at the contribution that this person is bringing to the table, so you can speak to that person from the work that they're putting in, and not necessarily a personal attack. Yeah.
You've done a lot of interviews in your past. What's the one question you wish you were asked?
That I wish I was asked? Hey man, thing is, there's a lot that I'd have to put in 15 years. For some reason when cameras are on, it's where do you start? I think there's a lot that I want to share, but I don't know where to start. Do you know what I mean?
When you start making money, share that.
When I start making money.
Because a lot of us, we're still in the slump right now.
Okay.
We don't know how we're going to handle when we do get that 1 million sign off.
Okay, cool. So where I am now, or where we are as a business, is everything that I thought it would happen 10 years ago is happening now. So what that does is that do I wait for the next 10 years for the things that I want to happen now to happen? You know, I can't wait for that. So how do I now shorten the 10-year gap, you know? So the people that we have now is people that have been in the industry for a long time. So our GM used to be the GM of DSTV Delicious, as an example. So we've got people that worked on the Summers, the Mamas, you name it, Nigerian Sports Awards, like those type of things. So like those things help us to be able to get there quicker, you know? So partnering. So now I've partnered with Jay. Jay is part of us, Jay Kayembe. Brilliant, right? So like now we rolling out something called Spaces Africa with him. So he's part of the business. So there's two of us from people who are pushing in the business from you know, like he's the Chief Creative Officer at Fresh. I'm the CEO at Fresh.
Sure.
Yeah, so we push it together, and it's amazing, man. It's we get goosebumps when we talk about the stuff that we're about to roll out. It's dope. It's proper.
Yeah. And then how do you know that the risk is with the reward? Because now we're trying to shorten that
Yeah.
10-year wait. How do you know that we've hired Ulwazi?
Yeah,
Ulwazi is going to add value. How do you measure that in real time? Because you still also you're future forecasting.
Yeah. So you see with this, so right now the thing that we're working on is the systems to be able to, because there's been a lot of growth. So from last year around September, there was 11 of us. There were 11 people in the business. So now there's like 33, 32 or so. So now it's about building the systems to make sure that the systems move from that thinking of, or the process of managing jobs that are that size to the size that we are now. So in the 10 years that I'm talking about, the 10 years gap that I'm trying to bridge is the systems when they were accommodating 10, 11 people. So now building systems that speak to the revenue that we're making, the number of people that we have will help us get closer to that 10-year gap. And hence, with the kind of stuff that we're rolling out now, it's the type of stuff that we put in a lot of money behind it to make sure that we get the returns earlier on, as opposed to waiting 10 years to be able to get that money.
With those systems that you build, because you guys are a service-based company, how does one who offers a service maintain a flow of income? Because it's hard to get retainers. It's most of us, we work on project-to-project basis.
We also a project-to-project agency, so we don't have any retainers. And what that does is that's the advantage that I think we have. So coming into whenever we get a brief, we have to make sure that we show up for that brief, because we want that project or we want that piece of business. And so that's how we've always been. So we get into these rooms with big agencies. They put their briefs, their proposals together and pitch work. But the difference between us and them is that we don't have retainers. So this is it for us, and in most cases, some of them would go out and get creatives that there's a lot of creatives that are out there, like your copywriters, your creative directors, and your art directors that are just consulted for pitch work. So once they get the work, they gone. They pay them for that, just so that they can win the business. But for us, those kind of creatives are with us on a full-time basis. Yeah. So the rapport we've got with them, we make sure that, we're able to attack the pitch, So from our side, I think that works. I don't think people should ever see that as a disadvantage to live on project to project, but just get one group. By group, I mean maybe something like SAB that you're servicing, but working across. Like a portfolio, then you make sure that within that, if you're not getting work from Budweiser, you're getting work from Black Label. You know what I mean? So it seems like a retainer, but you're able to sustain the business. Yeah.
And then how do you create brand value as an agency?
Brand value for us, so the beauty is that we've got a superpower. Our superpower is in the form of the publications that we have, the two publications, and as well as the experiential platforms that we have. So we create value by making sure that all our campaigns are linked to those publications and our experiential platforms. So we give them over and above what a typical agency would give them, just creative threat and all of that content, but we make sure that it seeds over to our platform so that we amplify that, and the results are amazing from there. So when there's no reason for them not to brief us again because we've got an advantage.
What's changed in your approach to creativity from 2007 when you said I can do this on my own to 2024 when you have a team of over 30 people?
I think we are all exposed to different things in the team. Because the team is bigger, now you're getting people that have been in the industry like for more than 10 years or so, like working for various agencies. So now them coming into the Fresh AF agency, I think the name alone, like holds you accountable. You're like, this is not Fresh AF, but like the work that you put, the output, So it has to be, the approach of it is different. It's different in the sense that there's more thought that goes into it, whereas previously it was just looking at zkhiphani alone and how do we amplify that on zkhiphani alone.
Yeah.
Now, we've ran campaigns where we reach out to you, your Mzansi, your Slicker, to say, here's the bag, how do we help us amplify this, help us amplify that, Yeah, just looking at the entire ecosystem as opposed to just one platform.
You guys come from doing campaigns with Steers, with Uncle Vinny, pre-COVID,
Yeah.
right? And then you do Steve Gombela with KFC.
Yeah.
How's that? Because it was like, one-man show, you just hold your camera, shoot him. Was the audio good, bro? Yeah, the audio was good. So now like,
now it's a production.
It's a production right now.
Yeah. So you see, it goes back to what I said earlier. So the Steve Gombela piece came from brand directly. So it shows you the budget. So we're not getting a videographer to shoot that by themselves.
You have a production
So now you've got
company.
a product. You have to get the sound guy. You have to get this. You have to get that. Like to make up the production that will be able to shoot that. Or you get a production company to be able to do that. So it shows you the growth of that, right? And the understanding of the responsibilities that you have. You look at the piece of work. You're like, this thing needs to land, and in order for it to land, you need to get the experts in the room, Yeah, so it's quite dope, bro. Like even from, coming from where we come from, where in the culture, right? So we're like, okay, cool. We gave Ricky his first cover, like apart from Mamas and Papas, like Major League and all of that. So Vinny actually I think it was his first bag that he got from a brand where he was
The Steers one.
Yeah, the Steers one. So for us to be able to call that out and say, this guy in the next maybe 5 years, he'll be big. That video is still doing numbers today, because whenever a young person or whoever wants to find out more about Vinny, they
just search that video.
They find that video, they play it. And that's the added value as well for brand. Steers does not know that there's still eyeballs that come from that video, because it's on the internet. It's forever.
It's forever.
Yeah.
You've done all these things, but how did you find it in yourself to pivot? Because now in my head, I'm like, I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
I'm not shooting nothing. I'm not going to that party.
Yeah.
I'm not doing this.
Yeah.
You've continuously found yourself and allowed yourself to learn new things.
Yeah, so I think it's having the vision to know where you are going and what you would like to see. I've always wanted to own an advertising agency because of the graphic design stuff, right? So I've always known that zkhiphani is one of the vehicles that would get me there. So in between what I was doing were just the vehicles to get me to the destination. This is the destination, right? So, like you said, me as a photographer, that was not me. Like, it's not me. Like, I had to do it because we couldn't afford certain people to do it. So when things like 2020 hit, now we're like, we're screwed because some of our advertisers come from the restaurant businesses and fast food businesses as well as alcohol industries. So
the demand is at an all-time low.
Exactly. So we had to look at ways that we can create content without necessarily advertising the alcohol. So we did something with Smirnoff where we looked at the content series or an EP that we put out that does not necessarily say here's alcohol. So it's to because they also desperate for those conversations because no one knows if the lockdown restrictions will be lifted or whatever, you know. So they also desperately looking for creative ways for them to be able to pivot into different areas. So we just had to be creative, and hunger will make you pivot. It will definitely make you pivot because you have no choice. You have to pay salaries, you know. Yeah.
What's your word to the youth?
What's my
word to the youth?
My word to the youth. Yo, man, I think look outside of yourself, like in a sense that be more of a business that is not heavily reliant on you as a person. I think earlier before we started shooting, we're talking about how, you know, at a maybe you are maybe a videographer, you get to an event, people are looking for you and not necessarily they're not supportive of, you'll find that they might not be, or you might feel that they're not supportive of your growth because maybe you might have an assistant videographer that comes in that wants to shoot or that's coming there to shoot for you, but they want you, right? So a lot of people don't know who I am, but they know Fresh. A lot of people don't know who I am, but they know zkhiphani. So as a photographer, people used to call me zkhiphani, you know? And I'm cool with that. Don't put yourself forward, but rather whatever it is that you're creating, let it be the one leading you, you know. Yeah.
Do you feel like you are appreciated within your industry for the work you've done?
Well, I don't think I've got ambitions of being appreciated. As long as they appreciate the work, I'm good. You know, I've got no ambitions to be cool or to be famous. I just want to live a normal life, bro. Like getting married now, you know, in September. Sure. So it's one of those things that I just want a private life. But because what that does for me is that it helps me be able to shine light on some of the creatives that we've got in the business, right? So if I'm the one now as the CEO of Fresh and, you know, when there's awards time and whenever we're shining, I'm the one shining and not the team, you know? I mean, zkhiphani, from a zkhiphani perspective, as a creator's perspective, you know, like when we've got an editor, I want that editor to shine, to be the one leading the team from a zkhiphani point. So if I'm in every interview, every article speaks about me and not necessarily the editor, now we're fighting for the spotlight. It doesn't make sense, you know. Most of the editors that we had, like I made sure that they're part of the 200 million Guardian young people, whatever, you know. I always submit their names, you know, so that they shine, but not me. I'm good. I'm good.
What would you say to the young publications? What
Young
should they look at?
publications?
Yeah.
I think young publications, your money is going to come from media agencies. That's where your money is going to come from. Obviously, PR agencies will give you money, but you know, it will be nothing compared to where the media agencies, the budgets that sit with media agencies, have the numbers, support the data. It's a data-led thing. Like sell the data. That's what you should sell. And with that said, look at creating your own platform outside of the social media platforms. Something to sell, you know, whether it's a MailChimp newsletter. Find a way of getting those 200,000 people that are on your Instagram, try and get them on a newsletter subscription. Let's see how many numbers you would get, because that can translate into hard cash.
Ally Fathana, Kona Jutan De Beer. If you want a part 2 or you want to see it live or you want Ally at our live event soon, put it in the comments. Thank you so much.
Danko.
You've given us all the insights in terms of branding, and how to do it better.
Thank you. Just last thing before I leave. So end of November, we're celebrating 15 years of Zkhiphani. So we had one Fox. More details are coming out. So that is in partnership with Spaces Africa for African music spaces. So we're rolling that out at the end of November. It's going to be epic.
We hope to see you there.
Danko.
And yeah, live event, 5 October.